Guys, welcome back to Hanselin Solutions. This is Hansa here, your leadership coach, and today I'm going to discuss about this new news about the EY employee, right? So, as per this article, a 26-year-old earnest and young employee's death sparks a debate about toxic corporate work culture. So, she was apparently overworking, and it resulted in her feeling exhausted and exhaustion, passed away. And it's a very unfortunate story. And new details about the death. This was because of a grueling workload of amount of pressure put on her, and it's triggered a conversation definitely about the work culture in India's biggest firms, right? So it's actually something that I come from India and I know that you are expected to work grueling number of hours, and it's really sad to see how it has transpired into a situation like this, which has really sparked a lot of debate on this topic of work culture and how we should have a work life balance. So let's get into this, right? So her name was Anna Sebastian Parel. She was 26 years. She worked as a chartered accountant in India, in the Pune office, in EY's global office there. And 4 months into the job, or passed away, with her father describing it as a combination of multiple issues, including acid reflux, work stress, and work pressure. And I was really sad when this had happened. And then the news also broke that her mother had written a letter, the head of EY India, right, in Pune, but about the fact that it was the workload, the environment, and then the long hours it took her, physical and emotional and mental exhaustion, were the reasons for her demise. And I think the consequences of how it had happened, and the fact that this was a combination of how these things had happened, and she was exhausted, and the fact that also she went to the doctor and when she was experiencing something called chest constrictions for about a week. And it was a lot of anxiety. She was not getting enough sleep. She was eating very late as well. So, despite the fact that this was all raised and everything was brought in, this experience, of course, talks a lot about now the work culture that we have, right? And how it's being handled and how work life balance is so critical, I feel, especially for the youngsters today, for the amount of pressure that they deal with, I think, and the expectation that's put on them at a very young stage of their career, at a very early stage of their career, can be very alarming. So, in that letter, her mom, she wrote that Anna's experience sheds light on a work culture where it seems to glorify overworking while neglecting the very human beings behind the roles. This is not just about my daughter, it's about every young professional who joins EY filled with hopes and dreams, only to be crushed under the weight of unrealistic expectations. So, because this went so public and everything, Miss Augustine also shared that no one from EY attended her daughter's funeral. I think that's really sad. And she reached out to the management afterwards, but she has received no reply. That's really unfortunate, isn't it? When you have an employee, doesn't matter if you feel that it was because of the organization or not, or if their management felt attacked. Okay, none of that should bear any relevance to the fact that she deserved to have someone represent the company, or somebody, a colleague or somebody, turn up and be there, right? And even if that was not the case, a statement would be nice if their management had come back to the mother, send their condolences, send their wishes. This is how you show empathy. This is how you show that you care about your employees and you worry and you feel sad that such an unfortunate event happened at your workplace, and as a result of the work stress that this employee went through, right? And actually that's a sign of a toxic culture, right? They don't even come back. Now, of course, I think the EY India chief came back with a statement and said, "We have around 100,000 employees. There's no doubt each one has to work hard. Anna worked with us only for 4 months. She has allotted work like any other employee. We don't believe that work pressure could have claimed her life." So, of course, in their defense, they're going to come back and say that. And that's a bit unfortunate. But and this is something that kind of brings forth a bigger discussion, right? That are we pressurizing our youngsters to the point where they cannot handle and it's too much pressure? How much work are we putting on them? Are they given 15 or 14-hour work for an 8-hour workday? I have discussed my own experience and I have pushed back a lot in my career, I would say. And I'm lucky that I've had management in my life who've been really supportive. And yes, you come across your occasional scenarios of what to do when you deal with some sort of toxic situation. I think everybody deals with some sort of toxic situations. But yes, I think as an employee as well, It's a responsibility of the management to identify what kind of work you are giving your employees. Now, they can claim that this was not related to work, that she was dealing with something else. It's a one-off situation. But I would really be curious to understand if what are the steps that the HR took to identify about the employees as well, about their well-being, about what they were doing to kind of make sure that employees were actually able to manage the work pressure, that they have the support that's needed. Is the work achievable? Are the targets right for the amount of time that they're spending on it, etc.? Or is it just a yes culture where you don't want to go against your management, so you just go ahead and do what needs to be done? That would be really interesting to understand if that was also part of it, that analysis was done or not, what kind of steps management took after this incident for them to understand about the work culture and how things were going. And did they just brush it on the carpet? Did they take any steps? Did they have any kind of checks done with their employees? Because it's important to use these scenarios or these situations as a wake up call, as a way to verify is that as an organization, are we doing the right thing? Are we managing it correctly? And are we taking the steps that's needed? That's also important. Also, in this article, it goes on to say that Miss Augustine's letter, also people have claimed. Now, on Reddit, you can be anonymous. So then that's a great way of sharing experiences. So somebody there explained that we average 16 hours a day in a busy season and 12 hours a day in a non-busy season. No weekends or public holidays are off. Annually, EY voluntarily announces a day off to rejuvenate their employees. Yes, you guessed it right. Even that is not off. We work on that day as well. From office, overwork is only way to get promoted. Do and make others do it. Exactly. It's a culture, right? So this again is a comment. I'm not going to say I believe it has to be about EY, but definitely talks a lot about the culture and about understanding the culture of how things are to some extent. Maybe it's so unfortunate because then that there's garnered a lot of criticism online, and it sparked a lot of debate as well, right? Like, what is if I not taking any responsibility, not taking any action, like I mentioned and mentioning, and as per this article as well, if you don't take the steps and action to deter what has happened and to try and investigate what has happened and try to say, yes, we're going to look into this and try and understand what's happening, you don't really care about the well-being of your people. You are just saying that, yeah, it's a big company, you're going to work here if you want, it's up to you, and we don't really care about your development, or we don't really care about how you're doing. So this is a very interesting debate, I think. Of course, this is a cultural thing as well, I think. And I can't speak for all companies, but definitely in Indian culture, working, I remember at times if I left work a bit like at 6, even though I've come in at a 9, I was given looks. It was very common. And I was like, no, I'm going to, and I've still got promoted. I still grew because I was very particular about my work life balance. I was not into pleasing anyone, but I was getting my work done, yes. But at the same time, I didn't have this culture of staying around 8, 9 p.m. And to be very honest with you, the people that did that, it was more about just pleasing your bosses. Whereas I would just come, be productive, focus on my work, take my breaks, and leave. So I really question productivity. If you're there for that many hours, what are you doing? And it's insane when I read numbers like 16 hours a day is crazy when there's only 24 hours in a day and you should be resting and having some time for yourself. And it goes back to my other article on that I shared about Japan. Employees are not able to quit companies and they're working 12, 13 hours as well, like it's normal. So this culture of working, literally working insane number of hours, I have never understood it. I don't believe in it. And if any company is doing that with you, they are exploiting you. It's as simple as that. Any company that's making you work 16 hours, 15 hours, 14 hours is exploiting you. There's no two ways about it, and it must stop. It is something that should not be encouraged, should not be allowed. But it's not in the employee's hand, unfortunately. It's the management that needs to wake up and realize that. It has to be steps taken by them, right? And that's when I believe that real change will happen as well. And things like this hopefully will not recur again. And I pray and hope that her family is fine. And this is just a little sad, right? To see this kind of scenario. And then there's another mention of this article that I want to share quickly, which was many brought up Infosys co founder Narendra Murthy's October 2023 statement, where he said that India's productivity being among the lowest globally, saying that Indians must work 70 hours a week to develop the country. I mean, it's insane. I don't agree with that at all. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys believe? Do you think it's acceptable? Do you think it's not? Go ahead in the comments and definitely follow for more. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.